Hey, welcome to Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander. I'm so glad you're back because today I have such a cool guest for you. This woman is like, she's one of my idols. Maybe we're twin flames and maybe we're soulmates. I think Elle and I are soulmates, and that's why we have so much fun together. She is my friend Elle Russ. She is an author. She has written 2 books. We're going to get into that because I know everybody's always like, I should write a book. Well, Elle actually writes books. She has one that's called Confident as Fuck. Yes, Confident as Fuck. You can say fuck on the radio, which is super fun for me. And that's her book because she's a badass. And she has a best-selling book called The Paleo Thyroid Solution, which has helped thousands of people all over the world get their health back. And she's helped me so much with my own journey with thyroid conditions as well. She's also a TV and film writer and an actor. And she also hosts 2 podcasts, the Primal Blue, I always mess up the word. The Primal Blueprint podcast is such a tongue twister, but she said that she's the host of the Primal Blueprint podcast for 1,000 million times. So it's not a tongue twister for her. And she also hosts the Kick-Ass Life podcast. So she's well-versed in radio shows like this and podcasts and is so much fun to talk to. So that's why I wanted to have her on today. And I am just super glad you're here, Elle. Thanks for being here with me today.
Oh, such a pleasure. And for those listening, I have interviewed Ari and myself on the Primal Blueprint podcast, like probably 4 times at this point. Always love chatting with you, always.
We both have a lot to say. So the reason I wanted you on today to share your awesome wisdom is because we're rolling into the first of the year and everyone wants to start the new year with like these goals and these dreams and creation of things. And your whole world is about how to be confident as fuck walking through your world. So I was like, we need a boost of Elle to help us start the year off right. So that's why I have you on right now when we're rolling into 2021, so you can help us all be confident as fuck in 2021. So that's your job. It's no big deal. It's just a small job to make us all be confident as fuck. So there you go.
No pressure. Love it.
All right. So we're going to dive into your book first because I do love this. And the first question I have for you is confidence born? Are you born with confidence or is it learned?
That's a really great question. I think we're sort of born with it in the sense that, like, let's say the infant isn't beaten immediately with some horrible trauma to it. Usually babies are crying and they're like, no, pushing away stuff. Like they have no shame about being like, nope, yes, gimme, right? Nobody has, and no baby has had ever issues with speaking up. It just doesn't really happen. And then I think we lose it somewhere along the way, either through some parental garbage, as I talk about in my book, which is one of the sort of barnacles you've got to scrape off in order to become confident. Or maybe a teacher told you you're worth nothing, or, of course, so you've got some socialization that can happen. But I think it's inherent within us. And frankly, talking about like primal, it's an ancestral edge. Having confidence provides an evolutionary edge. So because it helps us navigate new challenges, tasks, situations without anxiety, fear, and as a result, propels us in the direction of accomplishing our goals and realizing our dreams. Because nowadays, Arian, we've got the luxury of wallowing in despair, self-pity, self-judgment, or doubt. Not so in our hunter-gatherer ancestors' day, right? Life was harsh. It was unforgiving, unrelenting, throwing constant challenges at our ancestors. Can you imagine them moping around with their heads hung low, judging themselves as failure, because they didn't catch the beast? No, they moved on. They did what a lot of confident people exude, which is seeing challenges as things to be conquered, not to be feared or avoided. And so on the other side of it, a lot of people think that they can't attain confidence. But here's the truth. It's not an anchored characteristic within you. Confidence is the sum of the actions you take and the thoughts that you think. Both of those things we can change. Therefore, everyone has this at their disposal. And why would you want it? Because everyone listening, there's not one person in the world that doesn't want to be confident or doesn't admire people that are confident. Why? Because usually those people get what they want. Whether it's from the bedroom to the boardroom, you got to speak up, or you're not going to get it. So, and this is perfect because it's exactly what you talking about, this confidence to be out on camera. Doesn't matter what it is. This is even if you don't want to be on camera, even if you are not about an influencer, you're out there doing something, you're going to need confidence to be a stay-at-home mom because you're going to deal with some fellow child's mother or some jerk teacher at the PTA meeting, how are you going to handle it then? So I think people think, oh, you need confidence. That's because I'm going to go out there and I don't want to be a public speaker, or I don't want to be a corporate badass. You're going to need it for every area of your life, for drawing boundaries with friends and so on. And, I could go on, but I'll stop there.
I love it. I love it. There's okay. The whole podcast is right here in what you just said. So thank you. Awesome. So I want to touch on what you first said about it's ancestral. So I'd like to give really clear examples of what that means, because I love this. So how I interpret what you're saying is, let's say we're in caveman days. We're cave people. Like we're, building fires, and we're hunting bears, and we're gathering berries, and we're like have to take care of the children, because if we don't take care of the children, they're going to get eaten by a bear. And if we don't work as a community, we're all going to get eaten by bears, because we have to have our tribe. So that's the basis of where we came from, is this caveman culture, basically, and what you call ancestral. So what I hear you saying is that when we were back in that day and we had to go hunt a tiger, we couldn't be scared and not have confidence that we wouldn't get the tiger. It didn't matter. It was like, we have to get the fucking tiger because we got to feed our kids tonight. So it's like the confidence is just innate. It's like you don't have time to, like you say, have self-development and personal pity and being a victim. No. It's like, I got to fucking feed my family, so I have to go kill a tiger. The end.
Right. Or we need to move camp because now the bears have moved in. Right. So again, the survival required that our ancestors regroup and forge ahead to the next challenge when they faced unfavorable circumstances. So sure, like our ancestors did things with a purpose, right? But had the outcome not been to their advantage, they likely accepted it and moved on, trying again later or devising an alternate plan. They didn't sit and wallow. They didn't beat themselves up, because again, that was a survival type of life, right? This nomadic survival life. So I think that's very important. And I'll just rattle off, there's really important traits of confident people. They're comfortable with failures and mistakes. They're usually dependable, more reliable and trustworthy. One of the things that people are surprised about is that confident people encourage, foster, and celebrate the success of others. This is part of being confident as Steph. I'm down with OPC, other people's confidence, man. You cannot be out there shifting and projecting like, good luck. Oh, Erin, you want to start a new business? Oh, that's cool. And then I walk off and I roll my eyes and I'm like, good luck with that. Oh, So confident people aren't jealous. They don't compete. They do foster the success of others. If you think someone's ultra confident and they're a dick, that's just because they're a dick and they have an ego. That's not a nice person. People can use a certain level of outward confidence as dominance, and those are bullies, right? So confidence is also not bragging. You never sit there and hear someone like you and I live in LA. If we went to a restaurant right now together, if we were in a pandemic, and we were sitting and someone sat down next to us and just started name dropping a bunch of people in town, you and I would be out the door in 5 seconds, because we would look at that person and go, how insecure are you? That you have to so they don't pontificate, confident people will tell you what they're good at, but there's a difference between bragging, which is an insecure thing, and there's a difference between confidence, which is, I don't care, I'm good with whatever you think of me.
Yeah, definitely.
They're leaders. Another thing is that they have the ability to laugh at themselves. They're constantly learning. They're effective communicators, and they speak the truth as they see it. They tell it like it is. People really respect that. And so at least I've seen that in my life. And I want to say this is a really interesting quote that I heard about shyness, which is really the opposite of confidence, right? And it's by this guy named Andre Dubus. And the quote is a little harsh, but I think it's really, it's juicy. And the quote is, shyness has a strange element of narcissism, the belief that how we look, how we perform is truly important to other people. And this is what you talk about all the time. You can't wait till that video is perfect. At some point, you have to go. You have to do. Because otherwise, we're simmering in that. We're simmering in this strange element of narcissism, right? And it's so directed inward. But what it is really a projection onto you of what I think you might think of me, and then allowing that to dictate how I think about myself. Is that not the definition of insanity?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It is. So I love that. It's because sometimes people can look at confident people and think they're narcissistic. But what I really hear you saying is it's that that thing of like when I'm in my head thinking, what are people going to think of me? And I let that dictate my confidence or my not confidence, then that's about me. That's like me staying in my shell and taking things personally, instead of a confident person is like, I don't give two fucks what people think about me. I'm just going to do the thing anyway. And for some people that can be abrasive, right? They can be like, how can people do that? But that's where true leadership is born. I mean, leaders don't play by the rules. They make the rules. They bend the rules because they're like, they're not so concerned about what someone's going to think. They're just concerned about creation and what's next and how to continue to move things forward.
Yeah. And, on that note, this is sort of goes in line with that. There's a lot of people, they're like, well, what if I don't succeed? Or I don't know, that's a really competitive. Yeah, I want to be an opera singer, but God, it's so competitive, right? So, balancing your passions against like statistics and things like this. And in this, so, when we're doing that in this world, we're really crippling ourselves. I really agree with you. Like if you're a painter, no one's coming to your door to be like, hey, my neighbor said there was a painter that lived nearby. I'd love to see some of your paintings. How are you going to get out there? You know what I mean? But also on that note is like taking that leap. I mean, you've talked about this before on my podcast, like, I wonder if I should do it. I wonder if I should do it. And you're like, well, if you don't, you're right back where you started. You never try. I mean, right? Mm-hmm. You're never going to know. Mm-hmm. You got to take the risk. I think we are crippled by what other people think of us. And this is not to say that we don't want nice reputations and people to like us and people to buy my books. But if nobody did, that'd be okay too. You know what I mean? I might have to regroup and go, all right, maybe I need some help in marketing or this, that, and the other. But for the most part, I shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't be feeling like public opinion. And again, unless it's like overwhelming and like your friends are having an intervention, like, hey, there's this video of you on YouTube causing trouble and, breaking into car windows. I mean, yeah, okay, you need interventions when it's that kind of stuff. But, I think in general, people need to think of confidence as this notion of the thought that it's basically, so confidence is not reflective of your actual capacity to succeed at something. Mm-hmm. It's more reflective of your belief in your ability to prevail at a specific endeavor or just in life in general. So it does involve a lot of faith. It's a lot of faith gathering, the faith in the unknown, like faith that, hey, I'm going to prevail. And a lot of people don't live under that. They live under a fear that everything's going to go wrong, everything you know what I mean? They wish. And another thing too, is when you're skeptical of everything, there's a great quote by a Finnish composer who said, no one ever built a statue to a critic. And my version is no one ever built a statue to a skeptic. No one has ever seen a statue in a park where the placard was like, this guy challenged everything everyone thought was possible, didn't believe in Jack. Nobody's seen that. No one's seen that. We don't erect statues to fucking skeptics. We erect them to heroes who did something that we all thought was not possible.
Right.
And they achieved it. Right. So when your friend, and this is part of getting confident, and there's several steps in my book, but one is like, you got to get rid of parental garbage. We have stories from our childhood that are affecting our life now. And I can give a specific example if you'd like in a minute. And then also we've got to get through like, who are the downers in our life? Are you continually telling your sister Mary about your exciting plans? And she's like, I don't know, new businesses fail, or that sounds like that wouldn't work out. Stop talking to frickin' Mary. Stop hanging out with downers because people are going to project a lack of confidence onto you. And I know you would agree with me on this when you don't have maybe the right tribe or you're moving into a place of trying to be bold and confident. Maybe you share these exciting things with your supportive friend or your unbiased coach, but not with your sister Mary, who for 20 years is a downer. Guess what? I know you're hoping she's going to jump on board. We all want our family members to jump on board. She won't. She might not even jump on board after you've already become successful at the things she's downering. You might continue to get downers. Stop hoping and expecting that someone else is going to change out there in their belief of you. I have been in this game for a long time. I still get downered by people. All the time. I still get downered by people in my family or other people that just say comments that you're just like, oh my God, I've already written 2 books. Like, those are just those people.
Yeah.
So in moving forward with confidence, if you're not there already, that's the thing you got to start. You got to stop being a downer. You got to stop projecting lack of confidence on other people. And then you also have to stop sharing your stuff with these people and hanging out with these toxic people. It's just going to seep in. And you know this. I'm just speaking your language here.
Yes, I love this. Moral of the story is Mary is not getting invited to holidays anymore.
Right, Mary's out.
Mary's out. She's not getting any birthday cards for me anymore. I love this. We're going to come back. We're going to take a minute break, and I want to come back because there's so many things in here I want to touch on. So stay tuned. Come back. This is Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander on Fun for Life Radio on the Dash Network. And this is why I love this station, Fun for Life, because, hi, don't we just want to have fun for life? And be sure to check out our other shows because we have tons of great music shows and talk shows on this Fun for Life radio station. So my friend Dana has an awesome show called Hollywood Unfiltered, which is behind the scenes in the entertainment business, because who doesn't love a little behind the scenes action? And a new show that just came out is In Love with Jaxie Merrick. And it's, here's a trick question. Has anyone out there ever had a heartbreak? Well, I mean, that is a trick question because surely your heart's been hurt or broken at some point in time. So Jaxie Merrick has a whole show about love songs and heartbreak songs and breakup songs and getting back together songs, and it's super fun. So you will love our lineup of our shows. Just come back all the time and check out what's here on Fun for Life Radio, and we'll be right back. Great. And we're back with my friend Elle Russ, who is the author of Confident as Fuck and The Paleo Thyroid Solution. She has written 2 books, and I want to ask you about so many things we've talked about in a minute, but first I want to ask you about the books, because one thing I hear so many people say in their journey of life is like, I need to write a book. I should write a book. You know, one day I'm going to write a book about all this. But girl, you've written 2 books. So how did you get over the hump of, you know, I'm just going to talk about writing a book and actually write a book?
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point, you know, it's a frustrating thing as a writer when you hear people out there, especially like in LA, to a lot of people, it's like they've been working on the screenplay for 2 years. You're like, what's up, brother? what you doing? You got 2 years already? Why don't you finish this fucking thing? You know, so I do believe that if you're not a super motivated person, then don't tell people you're doing something like that until you're already done with it, because then you're going to get these calls from people, like these check-ins. And I had one of these too when I was writing my first book, and I talk about it in my second book, but I had a friend who called me up. We've been best friends forever. And this is, by the way, why you want also friends who are confident as fuck, because you can be honest and brutal and it takes a minute and it's over. There's no passive aggressive, any kind of this stuff. And so anyway, I'm writing the book, and she calls me. It's like, hey, what are you doing? How far have you gone? Are you writing? Like, were you like a parent, you know, almost like a parent who's like, kid has a thing due and it's the night before.
Yeah.
Right. Almost kind of, you know, that vibe of like, oh, hey, dude, are you? And I said, dude, I go, you need to cut that shit right now. I go, just because you don't have the confidence to write a book and you've never written a damn thing in your life, don't you project that onto me. I've never not fucking started a project I haven't finished. I don't need this from you. Stop being a downer. Done. End of conversation. He was like, shit, you're right. My bad. Totally fucking stupid. And it was over. Mm-hmm. That you can have a mic drop conversation like that with that's why this best friend and I have known each other for 30 years. We've had like 2 of these. Mm-hmm. 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. 2 seconds. But that's going to happen to you, even from your best friend who is well-meaning. But people project lack of confidence when they don't have it too, because they can't imagine themselves doing it. So how do you do it? Well, stop talking about it, get going. And the second thing would be, I mean, granted, I was already sort of a writer. This is the truth. I looked it up at one point as I was writing my first book. 80% of the population wishes they could be a writer. And I get it, because yeah. And yet there are only 300,000 books published a year or whatever it is. And who knows how many of those are self or just a 2-minute pamphlet on something, who knows? But I think the idea is that people think, oh, I'd love to speak from this position of authority. And also, oh, I travel the world. I can write from anywhere. What a glamorous sort of like, and I get that. That seems great. But the reason you know you're not a writer is you're not compelled to. You know, people who like, sorry to say, like people who really want to kill themselves, they're dead. I mean, like they don't even, like, there's no, they already did it. Shit. I mean, like, so if you really want to do something like this, like, yeah, you got to do it or get a coach or a mentor or something to motivate you, but you have to be compelled to want to do it. Do you know what I mean? And maybe this isn't for you. Like, I remember I heard someone one time ask me, they're like, do you think I'd make a good coach? And I go, the fact that you asked me that question means right now, no. Mm-hmm. No. If you really wanted that, that's great. But so I think people kind of spitball ideas in their mind, like, maybe I'd be good at that, or maybe that would be something. It's like, yeah, but are you passionate about it? Because let me tell you something. You know how many times people have said to me, like, wow, you'd make a great PR agent, or you'd make a great agent. And I'm sure I would. I don't want to do that job.
Right.
I'd also make a great preschool teacher. I worked with kids for so many years. I don't want to do that job. I'm not compelled to. I'm not passionate about it. Would I be good at it? Yeah. So that's on the note of you go for your passion. It will work out. That is how my life has gone. And you won't make money at first. And that's okay. That's how that goes. You know what I mean? Most entrepreneurs who have multi-million-dollar businesses now also didn't make money at first. They spent money to eventually make it. So, I know a lot of people want to be a writer. And I don't think a class is necessarily going to help one person to do it, but you have to have something to say. Mm-hmm. So just say it, and the writing of it, that can come later. And, and here's the thing too, is a lot of people have trouble because they write books and they get ghostwriters. And I've heard this from a lot of people before, and it never turns out really great because it's never in their voice. It's never really them. And so I would say if you're going to do it in your own voice, even if you have the ghostwriter. It has to be from the way that you speak and how you communicate. And then also, like, what do you have to say? Is it just because you like the story of being a writer, or do you really want to? Because, like, I'm compelled to write. I mean, I'm compelled to write all the time. There's no shortage of things that I want to write. I've got ideas for tons of books. Some of that, I wish I had 5 of me. So clearly I meant to do it. And I also didn't plan it. And I want to share that with everyone. I had no plan and intention on being a writer, never studied it. I followed the things I was passionate about, and it sort of landed this way. Mm-hmm. That's the prize I get from continually following my passion, despite not making money, despite people telling me, when are you going to give up that thing? When are you going to get real? And I just kept doing it, and it followed me all the way here, where now I am making money. So, but again, it was compelled and it was passion. I was having fun with all of this stuff. And that's really the truth, right? You got to follow what you love. I don't care what it is. The money will follow. It will. If you're passionate about it and you're compelled to do it, no matter what it is.
I have a little different opinion on that. That I laugh because I'm always say that Oprah ruined us because that whole, like, do what you love and the money will follow is bullshit to me. Now, what I mean by that is, there's no guarantee of ever you making $1 in your creative endeavors, because what we were talking about earlier, or what you touched on, is like the road of an entrepreneur or having any sort of creative endeavor. It's pretty rocky. Like, everyone thinks, like, you get to a certain point and it's like puppies and rainbows, and I'm like, no. It's like puppies and rainbows, and then there's a thunderstorm, and then there's a flood, and then a deer's in the road, and then there's sunshine, and there's some birds in the trees, but then there's an earthquake, and then there's lightning, and then there's a car wreck in front of you, and then there's a kitten, and you're like, oh my God, there's a kitten, and then, you fall. I mean, it's just like the road is ridiculous. It's not a smooth path. It is not the easiest path to do creative endeavors and to really go for what you want. And to me, there are no guarantees. And I think that harkens back to what you were saying about you have to be comfortable with failure, and to create confidence, you have to be comfortable with failure. And that's what most people are not willing to be comfortable with failure. So can you give me an example of, in your own life or someone that you've coached or worked with, of like how they got comfortable with failure, or how that has shown up?
I will. I've got a great one, but I also just want to say, I also agree with you on that. And I want to clarify it. So for example, initially I pursued acting and sketch comedy. This was really what I was passionate about. It wasn't about writing, but in the pursuit of that, I started writing sketches all the time to perform for sketch comedy. Again, not thinking I'd be like a writer. I was just doing sketches. And then it filtered along the way. I would have never been on that path to even the money ended up with books and writing. Wasn't expecting that. I was hoping to make money in sketch comedy or acting.
Right.
But see what I'm saying? I pursued my love. It went here, it went there, and then boom, then it hit something with money. You're never, ever going to be able to even get the tangents of that train if you don't get on the fucking train.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, but you know what I'm saying there? So I feel like it's worth taking the journey, because you don't know what you're going to find. I would have never started out this whole thing being like, I'm going to be a writer. It wasn't. It was like, I'm going to be an actor and make money, sketch comedy, or, whatever. And not to say that I haven't. You and I both have been on TV and stuff before, but it led me in other directions, And again, it was because how could I have been led there if I had just been like, well, no one ever makes money in sketch comedy. Acting's so hard. Forget it. I'm not even going to bother. But also, too, highlight of my life. Some of my best years, to this day, I still crack up. My face is like hurts from smirking, just remembering and recalling the sketches we performed, sometimes even remembering the sketches people pitched that we'd never put up in a show. Joy of my life.
Yeah.
Didn't get paid a dime for it, but it led me to be a writer, because then I'm writing all these sketches and I say to my friend, you know what, we should blow this up. Have you ever in a sitcom? Maybe we should figure out how to do that.
Totally.
So we did. And then the next thing, and boom, and next thing someone's like, hey, you want to write my documentary? And then boom, and then, right? So if I had never even pursued that thing, so it may not be the thing you initially pursue, but in the pursuit of it, you might find something that is. And I do agree with you. It's tumultuous. It can be overwhelming. It is not for everybody. And yeah. So about failures.
And that goes back to real quick about what you were saying about having faith in the unknown. Because
that's right.
What I hear you saying is that when you have confidence to pursue the thing that you are really excited about, and there are no guarantees, it is unknown. If you want a guarantee, then, you go get a job where there's a guarantee, whatever it is, but that's not where a lot of people listening to this radio show are probably not in that space. They're wanting something creative. They're wanting to live their purpose through their business. They're wanting to get out of their own way and become visible and become seen and do something really creative and cool. So having that faith in the unknown is awesome, because what you're saying is, follow those creative passions. And like, you might think you're going to make money on it. You might think it's going to be what you do. But what happens in the interim is you're getting course correction from life every minute of every day. And it's going to course correct you into a way that is probably something you've never even thought of before. I have that in my own life too. I mean, I can speak to
you have the same story. It's exactly the same thing.
Really.
So that's why I say you pursue it and the money will follow. It may not be from the initial pursuit,
right.
but the pursuit of it, and that's what I talk about. The best gifts in life sometimes come wrapped in shit. So when something terrible happens, like something awesome happens, that's happened many times in my life. I've got a couple of big stories on that in my book. But then also too, the unknown is where the good stuff happens. That's where all the possibilities are there to swim around and potentially collapse. But if you are too focused or too narrow-minded and don't have that level of faith, how can a little path be weaved for you? If I never jumped on that path, how could I have ended up getting to where I am? I would never be here, and I'd probably still be unfulfilled and be wondering what I need to do with my life, where I am not now. Now, as far as getting over fear, a lot of, for example, there's an imposter syndrome thing people have. I don't have it personally, but I know what that people think, like they're being imposter. Who do I think I am to talk about this? There is a little bit of that, I think, with everyone. I'm sure when you first came out, you're like, I don't know, is anyone like, okay, but you're just like, screw it. I know this. I have to get this out there, and you do it anyway, right? With one of my clients right now, she's never written anything before, but she is an expert in a field that she teaches people in something. And I can't say it because it's so unique and interesting. I don't want to, blow this idea. It's very unique. And she has noticed through training people in this one area that there are lots of life lessons that are related to this. But she was very like imposter syndrome about like, well, I may be an expert in this one area, but as it relates to all of the mindset lessons, like I'm not an expert coach. Like I still have work I have to do. I'm like, yeah, so do we all. But you're an expert in this one area, and it's enlightening to see how it relates to our life. It doesn't need to mean you're an expert in the end result of it. It means that you're drawing connections that could possibly help people. So I think a lot of the coaching sometimes, at least now I do a lot of thyroid and health coaching, and a lot of that is having faith and changing mindset, because when you're in a sick, awful, mindset, you wake up every day and you're like, I hate my body. I'm not fitting into my clothes right. Or I hate this. And it just keeps generating, you go to 100 doctors. So a lot of the coaching with, some of the thyroid or health people is related to some mindset there on faith and keeping the faith there, and also really just changing around the mindset of the self-talk that's destructive. But then with, for example, when I'm mentoring people with writing, it may be they're feeling like I'm not a writer, but it's like, yeah, but if you have something to say, the editing and how it's presented, that can come later, because what you have to say is great. So I think a lot of it is encouraging confidence in both levels. You know what I mean? It's like the health stuff, like you're going to get there, you're going to find an answer, you keep persevering. Plenty of people have done this, right? Aside from you, people have cured themselves of things. And then on the writing or other areas of life, whether it be business, I was coaching one girl who started a company and she had other people working for her, and she just really she needed to be more of a leader. She needed to step up and really be like, hey, she was more leading it up to them. Like, I don't know, what do you guys think? I'm like, this is your company. What are you tell them how it's going to go. Sometimes people just need permission to do the thing they're already thinking they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it comes from there. It's like, it's inside, and it's like, well, then do it. Well, I don't want to, isn't that mean? Or is that, hey man, like it's not, it's just declaring what you want, drawing boundaries. So a lot of the stuff is stepping up, just stepping up.
And I think for, as a woman, this is what I experience so much within myself and my friends, and especially women that I coach, is that, this place is setting boundaries and asking for what we need and standing in our no's. It's like can be a really challenging thing for women, because it's, and as you know, and I coach so much around visibility and, using powerful videos to do video marketing in your business and really putting yourself out there. So women are already pushing their boundaries of their comfort zone. And what I always hear is, this place of, oh my gosh, I just, I don't know how to set these boundaries. And it all goes hand in hand. So what I'm always telling the ladies that I coach is that we're not taught as women to stand in our boundaries and to stand in our yeses and stand in our no's and stand in asking for what we want, because that takes so much confidence. And that takes confidence of people not liking it and people being upset. And I just heard you say something about that I wanted to touch on, is like, one of the master rules that I've learned from the years and years of spiritual psychology training that I've done is that, I can't ever make you upset. It's your dominion over your emotions and your responses of how you respond to me. So people are like, I'm so upset with, so I could state a boundary that's like, no, I'm not going to go to the movies with you. It's a funny thing, because my friends are always like, let's go to the movies. And I'll be like, no. I'm like, come on, it's going to be so fun. I'm like, no, but we really want you to go. No, I'm very clear in my boundaries, and they're like, how can you be so clear? But someone else couldn't do that, because they'd want to please their friends, please their boyfriend, please their partner, and be like doing things they don't want to do. And to me, the confidence comes in being able to stand in my choices and my boundaries. And it might not be okay for someone else, and it's probably not going to be okay for someone else, and they might not like it. And so I have to stand in the discomfort of someone not liking my choices.
I love this. I have a whole section in my book about confident people don't justify. What I love about your answers when they kept asking you is you just told them no. You didn't justify. You didn't go, well, I've got this thing, and then da-da. First of all, no one wants to hear it. You just weakened yourself. Second of all, people in hindsight, even though that's a little bit direct, like, oh, okay, they will respect you more for it. Okay. I mean, how many times have we been through something where we're like, oh, hey, do you want to go to the thing? And they're like, I'd love to, but like da-da-da-da-da and da-da-da. Oh my God, nobody, just stop. And you don't have to justify yourself. Right. I'm sure in your spiritual psychology at USM, when you got your master's, you read The Nature of Personal Reality by Seth. And part of that, a line in there I really like is, do you have, like, a beetle doesn't need to justify its existence? Why are you? Now, here's the thing too, that's really great for your audience, because most entrepreneurs or artists or anyone who's out of sort of like this, benchmark corporate world of like, easy street kind of thing, you get tripped up a lot on this. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a really interesting thing. I feel that, I wish I could, I lost my train of thought here for a second, but I'll get it back. The justification is a great book for everyone is Dr. Robert Glover's book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And it's for people pleasers. So what's a people pleaser? That is you being like, hey, let's go over Chinese. And I'm like, yeah, sounds great, but I really hate Chinese because I don't want to disappoint you. Or you ask me my opinion and I don't tell you the true opinion. I tell you what I think you want me to hear because I want you to like me because I'm afraid of getting rejected. That is the lowest form of self-esteem and low confidence. And it also then creates a lot of problems because when you are not honest about who you are and what you want, then you end up having hidden resentments and little covert contracts with people. And it manifests itself in passive aggressive behavior, all of which is the lowest vibrational crap in terms of human communication. You know me, I'm very direct, and I'm the same way with you as my friends. Like, they know not to even invite me to some stuff. But I had a friend once who knew I don't like to go, I'm not like a big concert person, and she goes to concerts all the time, but she knows this, and I always say no. And so she got the hint, but then one time she called me and she's like, look, I know you're not into this stuff, but I'm going tonight and someone's going to be there. I kind of need a wing woman. Guess what? I'm in. I'm in, because you just asked me something now I want to do. I want to help a friend out. See what I'm saying? There's a difference there. Drawing boundaries is not never doing anything you don't want to do, right? There's a difference. Like, no one wants to go drive to get their friend's car getting towed, but you're going to go do it because that overrides the annoying trip or whatever, right? So there's drawing boundaries is not being a jerk and never saying yes to anything, but it's also like, how many times are you over explaining and over justifying this position? How many times have we written like a 10-page email and then turned it into it just like, no, thanks, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, right.
I love it.
And so I think too, one of the things I think is really interesting is, okay, so I had a woman said to me once, she was like, God, this online dating thing is really tough. Like, it's so much rejection. And I was like, well, what do you mean rejection? She's like, well, I like email all these guys and like, I don't hear anything back. And I said, well, what if you found out that all the guys you emailed that never emailed you back were wife beaters, rap sheet, a mile long criminal, con the last woman out of 100 grand? Would you feel so damn rejected then? Or would you feel like you dodged a bullet? Mm-hmm. We all know the answer. You would feel like you dodged a bullet if you found that out. But this is what's happening there. This woman allowed strangers who are a posted photo. They might not be they might be like a 15-year-old kid somewhere. Like, we don't know, right? Anything about these people. She's allowing a projection from her about what they think they might think of her to affect how she feels about herself. And now she feels like a piece of garbage who's rejected. That's crazy talk, people. So we got to like look deeper into these assumptions that we make about also this outward opinion of us. A lot of it's just manufactured, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I love this. We're going to come back to this. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back to this amazing conversation with Elle Russ. She's the author of Confident as Fuck and the Paleo Thyroid Solution. And she also hosts 2 podcasts, the Primal Blueprint podcast and the Kick-Ass Life podcast. And this is my radio show, Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander. And we will be back in just a few minutes. And be sure to listen to my friends Rachel and Emilio. They have an awesome show on our Fun for Life station called Relationship Renegades. They are young, fabulous people that have this really, really mind-blowing relationship, and they teach you how to have it too. So check out Relationship Renegades. And also, my friend Pili Montilla has a show called Truth and Tunes. She is a music expert, and she brings on all kinds of cool guests from all over the world. She's very, very cultural to tell you, to have really in-depth discussions all around music called Truth and Tunes. So check those out, and we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we're back with Elle. All right, love, I'm going to ask you something that, since you're a confident as fuck, I'm going to ask you, what's something scary that you want to do or overcome?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, just real obvious to me here. So I've always had a lot of confidence, but there were certain areas of my life that I felt I needed to nip in the bud in order to really fully become confident as F, in the full capacity. One of those things was getting over the shame of a physical disability I have that you can't see, that really provided a lot of trauma for me over the years. And so that was one piece because, I was again, hiding, shamed, embarrassed, couldn't deal with it. That was really important. The other one was I have been, never had issues with like overspending money or being like idiot that way, but I've been an idiot in terms of I have the avoider mentality when it comes to money, in terms of like, I don't want to look at it. And then so what happens, I don't look at it. And then I realize that even though I canceled my yoga thing a year ago, they've still been charging me. See, that's how it screws me, right? You know what I mean? By not being like, so damn it, right? So part of my thing was, I need to get confident with that, you know? And so I actually did some coaching with someone about that myself. Because as you know, we're coaches, but we also feel and we know how valuable it is, and we get coaches ourselves. And so I got a coach to deal with that. And what did I realize in that coaching session? Here I am sort of disregarding and avoiding, which is sort of like treating money like it's inconsequential, like it's not that important, even though I feel it's consequential. I love it. I want more of it. I want to be the person that is interested. Like I admire this quality in other people when they're on top of their stuff, you know what I mean? And they're looking at it that way. And so I really had to do work there to become confident in that area, and also to just address it, you know, to really see in myself, like, this is an area that's not working. So I would ask you out there listening, what area constantly sucks for you? Like, do you keep firing from jobs? Like, do you keep, you know, attracting the horrible person that's always the cheater? Do you, you know, what keeps what's the theme? And so I saw the theme that I would always run into this with the money thing. Like I'd avoid it and then I'd find something, you know, it just like keeps going on until finally I was like, all right, I clearly have like, you know, some things I have to work out here. And it's so funny because when you do the coaching, you see how incongruent these two things are. The way I really feel about money, but the way I'm treating it. You know, so that was something a little scary for me because I don't want to, I don't like it. I want someone else to do it. You know what I mean? And it was just a very resistant thing for me. There's so many things I want to do. Like I want to write more books. I want to do, but none of them I don't feel confident or weird about. It really is me mastering, looking at, and also really just handling my money situation, which was something that was an issue for me. And look, I know a lot of people have that out there. That's why I say it, because I feel like in my life, that was like, it's like really the last piece. I've sort of gone through all of these other areas. And that one was like, ooh, that was still lingering. And how did I know? Because it bothered me, because it come up, it bothered me. I knew I was avoiding it. Keep telling myself, I kept procrastinating. And then finally I was like, okay, I have to have a come to Jesus with someone about this and get coaching. You know what I mean? And it just took one session to just, you know, go, okay.
And I think that's so smart. And I love that you're speaking that, and you've said it a few times in this conversation today, is, you know, get a coach. It's different than a friend, because coaches are expertise. And I'm not saying this just because you and I are coaches and I have tons of friends that are coaches, but that's where I've really changed my life, because coaches are here to reflect to you what you can't see. I don't know what I don't know. And only like a trained person can help me see that. A friend has an agenda. A friend, you know, it's a different relationship. It's not necessarily a clear mirror. Whereas a coach, therapist, something like that, it's a clear mirror that's just reflecting me to me. So like for you, you needed that person that could actually reflect where your quote money issues were hiding, which you can't see that on your own. And so that's confidence too, in saying, I need help. Because I see this all the time. Yes. Oh my God, right? How many times all the time? People are like, oh, I'm hurt. I'm having this, you know, I mean, look at relationships in families. It's like lifelong relationships, yet no one's fucking willing to go to therapy or talk to someone about it. I'm like, you're just going to sit and fucking fight all day long and never take care of it because there's such a fear in asking for what you need. And I think there's so much confidence in asking for what you need and saying, I need help. I can't do this on my own.
Yeah. And confident enough to sort of know when to quit, admit defeat, admit that you've got something that needs to get worked out. And, you know, here's the thing about coaches, like, you know, you and I we have lots of good friends that are coaches. I know that if I was having a rough day and needed a quick turnaround, I could text you and be like, look, I need like coach friend hat. Can you spare 5 minutes? I'm sure you jump on the phone and I'd get out of my funk or whatever. Right. Yes. So we use our friends for that. But like when it comes down to like a real serious issue, I know you and me, we wouldn't call probably another friend coach. We'd pay a coach, you know, who's like, really isn't our buddy, you know, because we want the full experience of that without anything clouding it.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely. Okay. I want to talk once more about this getting comfortable with failure. I'm just writing so many notes as we're talking, and this just keeps like shouting at me to come back to this, because I really want to help anyone listening understand how to get comfortable with the failure, how to enjoy the failure, because I see that this is where people get stopped, is this fear of, you know, a failure of not getting the thing, of not doing it, of what are people going to think of me. So how can you actually get comfortable with this and like enjoy this process of like, I think a good example is Brene Brown, who I just freaking love. And she has her Call to Courage. That was the awesome, it's on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, like right after you listen to this radio show, go turn on Netflix, watch Call to Courage or something like that, Brene Brown, and it will change your life. And one thing she says is when she's working with executives at companies and she's working with them in vulnerability and shame and, how to work with their sales teams and all this. And they say, well, yeah, we'll do it. And I might fail, da, da, da. And she goes, no. Let's be clear. You're going to fail. There's not even a chance that you're not going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fall on your face. And it's going to be super uncomfortable, but then you're going to pick yourself back up again and you're going to figure it out and you're going to move on. And I love that because in any endeavor in life, no matter if it's a challenging conversation with your boyfriend or your husband or your wife or your kids, setting boundaries, if it's a job, it's asking for a promotion, asking for a raise, if it's starting your own business, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's if we all knew that like, we're going to fail, like that's just part of it. And like, how do we embrace that and live in that and still fucking move on and take courageous action? So what do you say, confidence coach?
Yeah, I got some good ideas. This is a great one. I'm glad you brought it up. Well, first of all, I'll give a tip of something like everyone can do to really get comfortable with failure. But before I do that, I would say that fear of failure or fear of success is self-sabotage. And it can come in a couple ways: procrastination and perfectionism. Right? Like until it's perfect, it's not right. Right? Because how many videos have you done? None of them are perfect. Like, no, right? Like, never. But had we waited till they were, like, how much time would have gone by? So people need to think about perfectionism and procrastination within this realm we're talking about. And it is self-sabotage, right? Fear of success or fear of failure. Listen, I asked my mom once, by the way, if you're out there, ask your parents stuff about their life. You don't know jack about them and you're going to learn some really interesting stuff. And I asked my mom, I said, oh, hey, I know you got a psychology degree, but like, did you want to be a therapist? Or like, what did you want to do? Like, what were you thinking? And she blew my mind. She goes, actually, I really wanted to be a singer. I was like, wait, what? And I said, why not? Why didn't you do it? And she had a stepdad that was like a drunken loser. And she was embarrassed. Fear of success, fear that she got successful, people would like find out, this stuff. Again, all about what other people might think of us. And so that is a huge thing there with fear of success. Fear of failure, again, usually a perfectionism thing, but also on this topic. So I talk about this in my book. And I'll just give the example. Not everyone has to do it, but it's a very cheap way to get used to failure. And I'm sure you know this, Arian, because you've probably been in them before. But if anyone's out there, you know what improvisation is. We've all seen like, whose line is it anyway? And, we've seen improvisation before. It's where you're making stuff up on the fly. You get 3 suggestions from the audience and boom, there you go. It's nerve-wracking. Anyone watching it, it's very exciting. One of the best things you can do to become confident and to also be okay with failure is to take an improv class, not because you want to be an actor, not because you think you're funny. That's not what a good improv class is. When you get a good improv class teacher, the first thing they all say is you get up, you stand up, you raise your hands up, and you go, I failed. Everyone yells it. That's like, if you don't have an improv teacher worth your weight, they almost all say that. That's part of it. And it's like, Brene Brown, you're going to fail. This is gross and embarrassing. It's weird. It's about following the rules of the game and telling a story, not about being funny. And you do stuff that's stupid and you shake your head, but you're in a supportive environment where everyone from the beginning is already like, we're all going to make asses of ourselves and we're all going to fail at this. Yeah. And there's nothing more nerve-wracking than coming up with stuff on the spot and you're going to be bad at it and you're not going to, but it is one of the best experiences because I will tell you this, nothing is more frightening. I've done hundreds of improv shows. There is nothing more frightening than driving to the theater and be like, I have no idea what's going to happen tonight. Like, I have no idea. Right. And I might fail. I had to be okay with that. Sometimes I had to self-talk into it certain nights where I'm like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for this. So I think that is a real cheap, easy way to kind of get out of yourself a bit and also be okay in a very supportive environment where everyone's failing and everyone is going to fail. So that to me is a great example of that. Well, if you fear failure or you fear success, either one, you're just never going to get anywhere. You're just going to be swimming in like one of those swimming pools that you just put in your, that like you swim against the current. Like, yes, you know what I mean? Like you're just sitting there and I think that, again, this is about self-esteem and building self-worth, because when you have that, you just don't care. Or even when you do fail, you have a couple moments of like, yeah, okay, that was a bad one. All right. And you move on.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I've had failed interviews. Like I've had interviews where like I talk way too fast, or I'm all business and serious and like, but you have to like have a sense of humor about yourself. You, especially when you're in this outward game, like they're not all going to be perfect. Did you get the information out, Elle? Yes, you did. Okay. Learn the next time, lighten up, make sure you have a smile on your face. These are the things. Again, Mark Sisson is a great example. We both know Mark. Mark has started Primal Kitchen Foods, multi-million-dollar company. He is also the sponsor of the Primal Blueprint podcast based on a book he wrote. He has failed so many times. He would tell you that. He's failed it. He had this idea for business. He wanted to do this at one point. It failed. That failed. Oh, that endeavor opening up a restaurant. Nope, failed, lost money on that. You keep going. You didn't let it set it back. You keep trying. You keep putting what's in front of you, what the next idea is. Okay, no, I was into sketch comedy, but now I'm into writing. Okay, but now I'm into that. I think too, one of the things, and you probably know this because this industry that we're in entertainment has a lot of it where people are so attached to the identity of a pursuit that they are not willing to give it up based on ego, even though the universe is pushing them in a different direction. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's an important part of success and accepting failure. It's not necessarily accepting failure the thing. It's not that thing won't be a possibility, but it's knowing when to pivot or knowing when to let go. And too many people are attached to that because, again, if they tell the person they're giving up acting or they tell the person they're giving up this, now they've failed. Now everyone's going to be like, ha, we knew that. So what? Yeah. You did it. You tried it.
Yes.
I'd rather have that than those people who are looking at you that way. They never tried a damn thing. They don't even have the balls to do it. So, I don't know. Maybe there's more questions you have for me on it.
I think there's
if I covered it.
Yeah, I think part of the getting comfortable with failure is taking the baby steps, because it's like what can you do to take one courageous action step that's outside your comfort zone and do it, and then you'll see you're not going to die, and then you'll do more, because you got to start small. You can't just, you can, but it's like, it's pretty hard to just jump off the ledge. But if you just take tiny baby steps of courageous action, then you're building that muscle of confidence, and that's when you're getting comfortable with failure, because you're like, oh, I can take a tiny courageous action step, I can fail, but like, who cares? I'm just going to do another one. So I think
and that's a perfect example, because that happens with like health a lot. People who, let's say they need to lose weight and change their health. They're like, I'm going to divorce my husband, join a boot camp, join a gym, and I'm going to video it all on YouTube. Oh my God. Yes. You're setting yourself, like, you are going to fail. I have had friends who have called me with these kind of endeavors, and you're like, nope, nope. One thing at a time, right? Yes. One thing at a time. And sometimes it's just, maybe I take the canola oil out and I put in some olive oil. Maybe that's, like you said, baby steps. So it depends. For example, most people aren't at ground zero with confidence, but I know such a person who's a good friend of mine who was so debilitatingly shy. Their whole youth, they literally did not have their first friend until they were 35 years old. They are 50 years old now. Okay, so this person was so debilitatingly shy, couldn't even speak to like a librarian. Okay, like that shy. Now in that case, their family hired a social coach. That social coach took them out to the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, which is an outdoor mall, and had them coach them to go up and make conversations with people that worked at stores. Because, of course, they're going to be nice to the customer. That might be where you're at. That might be the first step. Yeah. Now, if you met this person today, you would never guess that they were shy.
It was
me.
We can tell them now it was me.
It was you. No, but they are like you now, so that you would never know. Like if you told people you were once debilitating shy, people probably wouldn't believe it. Right. And the same goes for this. So most people aren't at ground zero. Most people just need to get a little bit more, increase the self-esteem. But I agree with you. It is baby steps. You don't throw someone into the spotlight if they've never spoken publicly.
Right. Yeah. Love it. Oh my gosh, this is so great. We could go on, but we're going to have to wrap, unfortunately. So I'm going to have you tell us where we can find you, Elle Russ, because you're awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, elleruss.com is my website, has everything about my books, which are on Amazon and elsewhere. And as well, every Monday I do the Primal Blueprint podcast, where I interview someone about health, mind, body stuff. And then every Wednesday I do the Kick-Ass Life podcast, where my co-host Tara Garris and I just talk about fun stuff like we're talking about today. And I just want to let people know, even though we mostly spoke about confidence, if you're out there and you have a thyroid issue or you think there's a problem, I do have a free thyroid guide on my website. It tells you all the tests to get, how to get started, what to do. You don't need to buy my book to get on that path of healing, because it is such a, global problem. So I just wanted to let everyone know that's available too.
And it's just Elle, it's ELLE Russ, RUSS.com. Cool.
Correct.
That's awesome for the thyroid. So thank you for mentioning that too. All right. Just to recap, we were talking all about how to be confident as fuck as you go into 2021, which is amazing. Some highlights are you've got to be comfortable with failure. You got to take the risk, but you got to be comfortable with failure. You got to have faith in the unknown and just follow that path. And, it will work out. You might get course corrected, but it will work out. Elle also talked about that you need to just stop talking and get going, which I love. Stop talking about the thing you want to do and start taking an action step towards it. She also touched on don't invite Mary to Christmas or Thanksgiving anymore because she's a Debbie Downer and we don't need any more Marys in our lives. And she also said to take an improv class. Like they have online improv classes now that you can take. So you can take it from all over the world and really get that fear of failure outside yourself, which I think is awesome. So, and of course, like 8,000 other things too. But I thought those were fun to recap. So I'm so happy you're here, Elle. You're amazing. Of course, I'm gonna have you back again because we always have so much to talk about. But in the meantime, stay confident as fuck. This is Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander on the Fun for Life radio station on Dash Radio. And we'll see you next week.